Although this video will be used continuously as how to attach as you go, so that you know how to do that, you can always check back to this video and look up how to attach as you go if that's the decision you want to make, if that's the way you want to do your blanket. I will also do another video that shows how to stitch up at the end, so you can do it either way you want to do it if this is going to be a bit fiddly. So to attach as you go, you're going to need your previous swatch, which eventually this is going to obviously be a lot of swatches together, so you just want the one you last worked, like each time. What I mean is, if you've got an entire blanket going on, the last swatch that you worked, you're starting with that one. And I'm going to be doing my blanket this way, so the rest of the blanket is going to be knitted on DPNs for me, because it's easier this way. And what we're going to do, you need to have casted on your next swatch amount of stitches, and we're going to pick up along the edge of, just checking you can see me, we're going to pick up along the edge of the swatch. We're going to pick up every other stitch. So we start with the very, very first one here, and then we're going to go up the side and just pick up about 5 or 6 stitches up this side. They may be a bit stiffer. Mine will get stiffer as I go up because I've done so much of this, so it's already a little bit loose for me. So we're going to pick up right close to the edge. So if you can see the very, very edge stitches, if we look at this side, we're wanting these stitches right along the edge, your selvage edge, and just pick up each of these loops that sit out. So we're going to pick up 5 and then push them along your needle. Now put that to one side. What we're going to do, we need a 3rd DPN, and we're going to knit the first row of our new swatch. So I'm going to knit along the edge, and I'm going to speed this bit up so you can just get to how to attach. The last stitches for this one is yarn over and knit 1, and then with this last stitch, which I'll always get you to cast on an extra stitch than the swatch actually needs, we're going to slide that onto this needle. And we're going to push them together and knit those 2 stitches. So the first one on this needle from your swatch that you've previously worked, and the very last stitch of the new swatch, we knit them together. And then turn your work, and now you can use this needle. You don't need the other one anymore. So keep that nice and tight, and then work your second row, which most of them will just be a purl. Okay, so then when you get to the end again, you have this spare stitch again it's already on this needle because you're now using this needle to knit with. You don't need that third DPN, sorry. So you're going to use this next stitch and just knit those two together. And you can see that it's starting to attach. Turn and purl back. Okay, so you can see it's starting to join together here. I'm going to do a few more rows. I'll speed them all up and I'll show you. When you get to the last side stitch that you've picked up, knit those two together, and then you'll have everything on one needle and this one empty again, and just go back, move this one out of the way a little bit, and just go back to picking up another 5 stitches. So just pick them up along that side. Close to the edge as you can, and just every other little side bit. So as you've got your you have your knit V's, don't you? So on the side they kind of curl around, so every other one is the one that you want. So we've picked up that one, so we don't want this one. Can you see properly? We've picked up this one, so we don't want this next one, we want the one after it. And then we don't want this one, we want this one. Okay, so you're just picking up every other one because you're only joining them every other row because you're not joining on a purl row. So as you go up, it's a bit hard to see on this one because it's got an eyelet right next to it, but you can see that it'll join together. So what I'll do, I'm going to knit an entire swatch and show you at the end so you can see what they look like joined this way, and then I'll also show you stitching up so you can decide which way, which method you want to use that's right for you. Obviously, as this blanket grows, this needle will get a lot weightier because you're going to have a whole blanket on it. But as long as you're sitting down and you've got most of the blanket resting on your knee, you should only really be moving one swatch around, and it shouldn't be too much of a hassle. If it does become a hassle, because I've never used this method for an entire blanket before, so I'm not sure how it's going to go, but if it does end up being a hassle, then we can always just revert back to sewing them in place afterwards. So I'm going to knit this swatch and I'll show you it at the end, and then there'll be another video which I'll link below for sewing up in case you want to do it that way. Okay, so if you're attaching as you go, you can see here I've got week 1 and week 2, and this has been attached as I've knitted. So it's had the knit 2 together with the picked up stitches and a purl one on the opposite side, and this is how it looks when it's done. Let's see how much of this you can see. It's very bad lighting today, but this is how it looks on either side when it's finished. But when it actually sits, you won't, it'll like bunch over a little bit and you won't actually see those lines at all. Well, you will, but they're not going to be as prominent. So that is what it would look like if you were picking up and knitting. I'm going to pick up some and knit, and I might also stitch some on. I'm just going to see how I go, and I think I've never done this method before. It's completely new. It's just something that I thought of to do while doing this. And obviously when we get up to, we're going to do 5 across, but when we start going up, we'll have to pick up the stitches from here. and be attaching at the side as well. So it could get a little bit fiddly and awkward. The other thing I need to say is if you do the attached method, you can't then change the order of your blanket. It's set like that. So be aware of that in case that's not your thing and you want to be able to mix and match and move them around. You won't be able to if you do it like this because they are knitted onto there. So it would mean pulling everything out. So with that in mind, I'm going to, I've fastened all of those up to the side, and now I'm going to show you the casting off. So to cast off, you are going to need to pick up that final edge stitch, which I'm just going to pick up the stitch right at the edge there, stick it on the end, cast off as normal. So I'm going to do that. I'll speed this bit up. Okay, so when you get to your last 2 stitches, which is your picked up stitch from your previous swatch and your last stitch on your current swatch, we've cast right off up into it. We're going to knit those 2 together and then just cast that last stitch over the top. Sticky, and then that should be nice and neat when you've weaved your ends in to just follow on to the next swatch, and it will make it a bit easier when we're picking things up and everything there. And then because we've knitted this onto this, I would just block. I'm going to just block this square because this one was already blocked. It's curling because it's been blocked a while back now. But obviously once the blanket is complete, we'll block them all together. But I would just block each square as you go because it'll make it a little bit easier for when you're picking up along the sides. But you don't have to. You've got a week for each one anyway, so it's entirely up to you, like I keep saying. So there we go. I'm going to block this one now. And yeah, that is joining as we go. When I get to it and we need to go across the bottom and up the side, then I'll do another little video and add it for that section. And I'll probably just add it on to the end of this one or something. So yeah, there we go. Let me know what you think, because it's a brand new idea that I've had, but it might not work. We'll just have to see.